Alrighty. Hello again. Welcome to our second virtual service talks of the spring 2022 semester. Today, our agenda is going to start with some introductions from all of us, and then we're going to do a quick little activity about something called Pathways of Public Service, which we will be explaining in the next few slides. Then we're going to go into what's called the direct service pathway, and then the philanthropy pathway, and then we'll talk about the additional pathways that fall under that umbrella. And then we're going to talk a little bit about our Bobcat College Core info sessions that are happening this month. And then we'll have some final announcements before we wrap up. So to get started, let's do some introductions. We just want to get to know you all a little bit better. So if you're comfortable, please feel free to share your name, your major, a club or org you're attending on behalf of, and describe your club or org in one word. If you're not here for a club or org, that is totally fine as well. So feel free to describe the type of service opportunities you're interested in. If you'd prefer, feel free to do this in the chat as well. But I can go first. My name is Namita. I'm a third-year public health major, and I'm the student lead here at the Community Engagement Center. We have some of our staff here as well, if anyone would like to introduce themselves next.
Hi, everybody. My name is David Gutierrez, and I'm a CEC student staff member at the Community Engagement Center.
Hi, everyone. My name is Angelica. I'm also a CEC student staff, and I'm a third year majoring in public health.
Hi, everyone. My name is Andrea Tafoya, and I am the Community Engagement Coordinator at the Community Engagement Center.
Would anyone else like to introduce themselves? Feel free to type in the chat too, whatever you're comfortable sharing. If you only want to share like a service opportunity that you're interested in, so we know what kind of things to share with you next time, that is totally fine as well. Feel free to type that, let us know whenever. And I see some responses coming in the chat, so thank you everyone for sharing. Feel free to share at any point in this meeting. If you ever have any questions or any kind of input to share with us, feel free to just raise your hand or drop it in the chat anytime. All right, and with that being said, let's go ahead and move on to our next slide. So we're going to be talking about first is the pathways of public service and civic engagement. To get started with a quick little explanation, the pathways describe a range of possibilities by which we can make a contribution to the common good. These pathways intersect and overlap, demonstrating the interdependent nature inherent in working toward the common good. There's no single path, and people move in and out of these pathways over time. That might sound a little bit wordy and confusing, so let's break it down a little bit with a quick activity. So please go ahead and scan the QR code or enter the link here in your browser. That's going to take you to a little activity through Mentimeter, and we'll have some little polls there and things like that for everyone. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to that presentation right now. Alrighty, so our first question that we have before we kind of introduce what Pathways is what does community service mean to you? Feel free to type whatever comes to your mind, and it's going to show as a word bubble from all of our responses so we can get a little bit of inspiration from each other. Alrighty, we have some great responses coming in already, so thank you everyone. I see a lot of things about helping each other, sharing, selflessness, teamwork, the greater good, collaboration. These are all great responses and something we really hope to highlight in the opportunities that we share with you. Alrighty. All right, sharing, engaging. Yeah, collaboration, connection, support, all great things. Right. Okay, so with all of that in mind, we're going to go ahead and go to our next slide, which has a little introduction for what Pathways is. This is a video by Stanford. So Pathways is something that is backed by them and been heavily researched. So let's hear what they have to say about it. I don't think the audio is working, so let me go ahead and reshare with the sound. Alrighty.
Welcome to the Pathways of Public Service and Civic Engagement.
These 6 pathways describe ways to contribute to the common good.
Community-engaged learning and research connects academics to community concerns.
Community organizing and activism involves, educates, and mobilizes individual and collective action.
Direct service works to address the immediate needs of individuals or a community.
Philanthropy donates funds from individuals or institutions to contribute to the public good.
Policy and governance participates in policymaking and public governance.
And social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility uses ethical private sector approaches to create market-oriented responses to social or environmental problems.
Think of the pathways as different colors in the spectrum of service, allowing us to choose from a range of activities to illustrate our own public service masterpiece. The pathways encompass different but interconnected, overlapping, and reinforcing actions.
Pathways are relevant at local, national, and international levels, and are not bound by geography nor topic.
For example, these are just a few ways to advance the issue of access to education. Issues addressed by any pathway can result in measurable community impact towards the common good.
The Pathways tool captures students' interests and predispositions in service. The tool surveys students and provides data that 1. Helps individual students by improving advising. When we have shared language to describe students' interests, it's easier to think about how to support their development.
2. Guides programming. With data about a whole cohort, we can tailor topics to students' interests and expand their experiences.
And 3. Enables longitudinal trend data for students collectively. We can follow attitudes about pathways and relative interest in specific issues over time, which could inspire changes in advising, programming, and policy across institutions.
Members of our international working group have used the tool in creative ways to make a real impact. Get in touch to learn more.
All right, so that's pretty much a quick overview of what Pathways is. And now knowing all those details, we're going to move on to our final question in the slides. And that is, which pathway of community service are you most interested in? Feel free to select whichever one is more interesting to you. You can select one or all of them. We just want to know so that way when we try to find service opportunities for you in the future, we know what area to focus on. All right, so we have a lot of people interested in all the pathways. I see a lot of direct service and community organizing and activism. That's awesome. All righty. Anyone have any last things to click on before I switch back to our regular slides? Okay. Does anyone have any questions about what we've talked about so far, about pathways or what this might mean? We're also going to go into more specifics and we'll give you specific opportunities that fall under each pathway if that would help clarify anything. Okay, let's go back to our regular slides. Okay, so we're going to go through each pathway individually. And so we're going to be starting with direct service. Direct service is something that some of you might be familiar with if you've been to our previous events, but it's basically working to address the immediate needs of individuals or a community, often involving contact with the people or places being served. So some examples that we have here in Merced are the Merced County Food Bank, USDA food distributions, Love Inc. distributions, People's Fridge, AmeriCorps, City Year, and many of our virtual service opportunities. So just to go into that a little bit more, we have some detailed opportunities in our next few slides.
Hi, everybody. Once again, my name is David Gutierrez, and as I believe I forgot to mention in the beginning, I am a 3rd year going into mechanical engineering. On another note, I want to say thanks to Namita for having the amazing intro for us and explaining direct service opportunities as direct service, and I'll be able to go ahead and explain some direct service opportunities coming up in the Merced area. First, we have the Atwater Youth Basketball League, which, as it speaks for itself, will be taking place in Atwater, and they are looking for volunteer coaches. These coaches will help young student athletes or younger athletes in the Atwater community develop skills for basketball and community skills, and we hope that UC Merced students could help them with that. These hours will qualify for cat life. And as you can see, there is also a paid referee and scorekeeper position that they are looking for. But since that position will be getting paid, it will not qualify for cat life. Regardless, if you are interested in any of these opportunities, feel free to email edrumland@atwater.org, or feel free to call the number that you see on the screen. And if you are also interested in community service, but would feel more comfortable participating from home, we do have an opportunity with Step Up, which will focus on volunteering and tutoring and mentoring students in elementary schools and or younger audiences. So as you can see, Step Up Tutoring is a California nonprofit that aims to improve student success in under-resourced communities. If you're interested, I could go ahead and drop the link, as well as the one, it is the one that you see on your screen. And then some more in-person direct service opportunities that we have is the USDA food distribution volunteering. And this takes place every month on the third Friday of every month. So the most recent one coming up will be March 18th. And if you do decide to participate in the USDA food distribution, you will help sort and give food to members in need within the Merced community. Another opportunity that we do have in person is the Harvest Park Education Center, or HPEC for short. And here you will help tutor children and younger students in essential materials such as social studies, geography, math, and any other elementary level schooling. So yeah, if you guys feel that that is something you would want to do, these are the links down below, and I'll go ahead and drop them as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, David, for sharing all of that with us. Does anyone have any questions on these opportunities before we move on? Feel free to let us know in the chat or raise your hand if you do at any point. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next pathway. Or sorry, our next slide.
Lastly, we have the upcoming park cleanups. First, we have the Love Beasley Family Park cleanup, which is happening this weekend, March 12th. And we have the Carol Gabriel Park cleanup happening in April 30th. If you're interested in participating in any of these cleanups, you can go ahead and sign up using the link that I am dropping right now. And I do have to mention that since the actual park cleanup that is coming up in April under this organization, it may take a while for them to upload it, but the opportunity will be there. So just make sure to keep it open in your schedule. And then if there's any other questions about the opportunities I have just mentioned, feel free to ask me.
Awesome. Thank you, David. Now let's move on to our next pathway, which is philanthropy. This might be another familiar one to some of you, but it's basically donating or using private funds or charitable contributions from individuals or institutions to contribute to the public good. A lot of this can involve donating, for example, to some of our local organizations like the Valley Crisis Center or any other domestic shelter wish lists. You can search for a local shelter that has a cause area that you're interested in. You can also donate to the Central Valley Mutual Aid Fund or the Boys and Girls Club. And donating doesn't always have to be money as well. You could also donate, for example, your extra produce to the Merced People's Fridge as well. And on the note of philanthropy, we're actually in Philanthropy Month right now, and I'll let our student staff, Angelica, take over from here.
Thank you, Namitha. So yes, as Namitha mentioned, Philanthropy Month is brought to you by the UC Merced Alumni Relations and the UC Merced Community Engagement Center. The Philanthropy Month takes place during the month of March, which is the month we are in, and each week of the month will consist of different hosted topics. The second week is hosted by us at the Community Engagement Center, and more specifically, we will host 2 service opportunities. One of these will take place on campus in KL 190, and this will be the Plushies For Pals event taking place this Thursday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. For this service event, students will be creating octopus and caterpillar plushies to donate to children at the Women's Shelter in Merced and seniors at the Park Merced Senior Home. And you may have noticed some of these already featured in our Instagram stories from today's event. They're very cute, so we highly recommend you to register to volunteer. And our second opportunity will take place off campus at Lake Yosemite in Merced. And during this event, students will clean up Lake Yosemite from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. And we'll have the opportunity to network with UC Merced alumni and City of Merced stakeholders. This event will include a provided lunch, so please register if you're interested in the link below.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Angelica. Does anyone have any questions about Philanthropy Month or anything related to philanthropy? Feel free to drop it in the chat at any point. Alrighty, and let's go ahead and move on to our next pathway, which is community organizing and activism. So this includes involving, educating, and mobilizing individual or collective action to influence or persuade others. So this can include collaborating on a campaign event to raise awareness about an issue you're passionate about. You can join a coalition to promote community activism. You can organize your peers through social media to promote a local community political campaign, or create an issue for a petition create a petition for an issue that you care about. So some more specific examples of organizations here in Merced would be CalPIRG, 99 Roots, NAACP Merced County, Valley Natives for Change, Planned Parenthood, Central Valley Justice Coalition, and we have even more of these on our website if you're interested. And we have another opportunity here under this pathway.
So that is with Power California. So Power California, it is an election year. I know it's not a presidential election year, so a lot of the times midterm elections, which is what we're in, don't usually get the same attention that a presidential election might get. So it's important for us to know that it is an election year, and midterm elections are just as important as president elections. So if this is something that interests you, when we were doing kind of like the pathways review, if you kind of went towards community organizing and activism as one of your pathways that you are most interested in, this is something that you might want to consider. So Power California is a nonprofit, and their goal is to get 500 young adults that are eligible to vote in Merced to get registered to vote. So if that sounds like that is something that you want to do, you want to be able to empower students and youth in Merced to go ahead and register to vote, you would go ahead and email Astrid Morales, who is actually a UCM alum. So shout out to Astrid. You would email her at astrid@powercalifornia.org. As a volunteer, you would be helping giving presentations, and you would then be trained to then train others on how to register, how to vote. So this definitely falls under the community organizing and activism pathway.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea. Let's go ahead and move on to our next pathway, community engaged research and learning. So this involves connecting coursework and academic research to community identified concerns to enrich knowledge and inform action on social issues. So this can include partnering with local agencies to survey or interview residents on the effects of recent local legislation that's passed. You can enroll in a program that combines coursework with field experience and community organizing. And you can evaluate the effectiveness of a program in your community. So some examples of things that would involve this are tobacco control programs and internships, Unidos por Salud, the Resource Center for Community Engaged Scholarships, the Student Success Internships, Merced County Library Adult Literacy Program, and the Young Parents Program. And we'll have all those linked on our website for you. Another pathway that we have is a policy and governance pathway. This involves participating in political processes, policymaking, and public governance. So to do this, you can attend or organize a political debate, forum, or town hall to discuss issues affecting your local community. You can visit your elected representatives to discuss community building centers and spaces, or you can even draft legislation related to a personal cause or passion. So some examples of how to do this could be going to Merced County town hall meetings, or even the UC Merced student town halls. You can also find a list of your representatives. We have the link up on our website for you to look through that so you know who to contact if you're interested. And then if you're interested in drafting your own legislation, Harvard has a beginner's guide for doing that as well. And then on to our final pathway, social entrepreneurship and corporate social responsibility. So this would be using ethical business or private sector approaches to create or expand market-oriented responses to social or environmental problems. So this can involve participating in a class with a student-managed investment fund to invest in organizations that support public works. You can work for a business to develop a product or technology that supports your community's small business owners. And some examples more specifically can be with the UC Merced Small Business Development Center and United Way Merced. But basically, a lot of things in this pathway involve supporting and uplifting small businesses. So if that's something you're passionate about, this might be the pathway for you. And that pretty much concludes all of our pathways. If you're interested in learning more, you can visit our website, cec.ucmerced.edu/pathways, for information on signing up for the formal assessment and for links to opportunities under each pathway. We're hoping to promote this a little bit more and have an interest form for anyone who wants to take that formal assessment. But for the time being, we have all those opportunities linked up on our website. And with all of that information being shared right now, does anyone have any questions about pathways or any of the opportunities we shared? Feel free to raise your hand or drop it in the chat before we move on to some final announcements.
I will add, Namita, that for those of you that are here and are here as a representative for a club and org, if this is something that you would like to do as a workshop with your club or organization, please feel free to reach out. We can definitely do the full workshop with the rest of your members so that we can kind of check to see which pathway every member is in so that you can cater your community service towards what your members are most interested in, and that way it can become more meaningful to them. So if you are here, you're one of the board, on any of the e-boards for a club or org, definitely reach out to us. And for those of you that are here individually, this also applies to you. If this is something you want to kind of navigate a little bit more, feel free to also touch base with us, because we can certainly give you the full assessment and go into more detail and obviously connect it to your major and to your future goals after graduation.
Awesome. Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, this is definitely a great opportunity for clubs and orgs. During the workshop, it might help you bond with each other a little bit more, knowing what kind of areas you're passionate about also. Any last questions before we move on from pathways for now? All right.
All right, so it looks like we've moved on to the announcement portion of the virtual service talk. So the first announcement that we have is Bobcat College Core. We have a few upcoming info sessions. And for those of you who are not very familiar with College Core or Bobcat College Core, it is going to be very similar to AmeriCorps, which is federal funding, federal money that UC Merced was able to receive to do their AmeriCorps Public Service Fellows Program this year. However, this upcoming year, this next academic year, we were able to receive state funding. So this state funding will allow us to expand our program to students that are either documented or undocumented. So you're able to come into this info session because this opportunity is now available to all students, including AB 540 students. So the one thing that I will say is you do need to attend an info session in order to receive a link to an application. So if you are thinking of, just submitting the application, unfortunately, that will not be able to work. So our upcoming info sessions are March 10th. We will have both virtual and in-person. March 10th is this Thursday. And then we'll have one on Monday at 2 o'clock, March 14th. And you would go ahead and register on the link that David just provided in the chat, also the link that is on our screen, just to give you a really quick overview of what Bobcat College Core will look like at UC Merced, to see if this would pique your interest. We are going to have 3 different tracks this upcoming year. We're going to have an education track, climate change track, and then food insecurity or food security track. So we are going to find different sites of local organizations in the Merced area that can use the help of students to move forward with their mission of their organization that relates to any of these 3 tracks that I mentioned. So when you do that, you are signing up a commitment for 450 hours for the entire semester, but in return, you will receive a stipend every 2 weeks. And at the end of completing your 450 hours, you will also receive an education award that you can then use for future school payments. Whether you're a 3rd year, you can use it for the for your 4th year and final year at university. You're going to grad school, med school, law school, you can use it for that as well. And if you are like totally done with school, never going to do it again, you can use it to pay off any existing loans. So pretty neat opportunity. If that piqued your interest, come to the virtual or in-person info sessions and learn a little bit more about it. Each info session is about 30 minutes long. So it's not too much of a commitment, but it is important for you to be there so that you can receive access to the application. Thank you, Namita. And then for our final announcement, we have the UFC, which is short for University Friends Circle. We have the RCO award, and we've got a new due date. So this new due date is next Wednesday, March 16. And this is for all registered clubs and orgs that have engaged in service. You're eligible to apply to receive a nomination. And once you receive a nomination, you are entered into the selection process to be eligible to receive $1,000 to go to your club or organization. So what does this mean? This means that you have to turn in at least 1 nomination. So this could be a self-nomination. So self-nominations are allowed and are encouraged. The tricky thing here is that you just need 1 nomination to be considered. So that would mean that if you wanted to get together with your club and org and work on 1 really good application, that puts you through the door. So don't try to send 6 different people in your organization to all submit the application, because then you would have just done more work than you would have really had to. So 1 nomination is all that is needed. It can be a self-nomination. It can be coming from a professor, from your advisor, from a community member that you worked with. So the application is in our student leadership website, and I believe that we entered it into the chat, and it is also on the screen. So if you have any questions, please let me know. Let us know, send us an email. And then of course, I will say that if you are interested in doing the individual award, unfortunately, that deadline has already passed. So you'll have to come back and do it again next year. So for now, individual awards are done, but the nominations for registered clubs and orgs are still open. So now's your chance. And so those are the 2 announcements that we have for today. The last thing that we are going to go over, and just kind of to gauge what you are all thinking, is that April, this upcoming April, will be our final virtual service talk. Because really, as college students, we know that May is practically, it does not exist. Like, we are in finals and we are busy and nothing exists outside of school, right? So we are going to honor that, and our final virtual service talk will be in April. Because it is our last one, we want to make it a little bit of a celebration. So we would like to know whether you want to include it in the chat or you want to unmute yourself. What does a final virtual service talk look like for you? Is it in person or is it virtual? So let me know, put it in the chat. Let me know if the final one you'd like to be here in person, or is virtual more convenient for you? No feelings will be hurt. So you let us know. Do you want to see us and meet us in person, or is virtual okay with y'all? Thank you, Kayleen. So you all can put it in the chat, and if you need, some time to think about it too, you are always welcome to respond to our email when we send you the link to our recorded virtual service talk. So you can just respond to that email saying, by the way, I wanted to do in person or I wanted to do virtual. Perfect. All right, Namita, I'll hand it off to you so that you can finish us off.
All right. Thank you, Andrea, for sharing all of that with us. And thank you to everyone who's entering in the chat with their preferences for our next virtual service talk. And all of that pretty much covers what we wanted to share with you all this month. If you're interested in hearing more from us, make sure to follow our Instagram. It is at UC Merced CEC, or check out our website, cec.ucmerced.edu. Both of these places contain the most updated information for all of our ongoing opportunities and future opportunities. So make sure to check that out. If you have any questions for us and you come up with them later, feel free to drop by our office. It's KL 190 on campus in the library building, but you will need to enter from outside, so you can't really access it from inside. So check the outside of the building and you'll be able to find us. You can also contact us through email, communityservice@ucmerced.edu. And we also have a Facebook page. It's at UCM Community Engagement. And if you're not really a social media person, that's totally fine. We also have a mailing list where we regularly send email updates. So we'll have that link dropped in the chat for you to sign up if you haven't already. And that pretty much covers everything. Give us a follow if you'd like to receive updates on more events like this. And other than that, thank you so much to everyone for coming today. I know we're all really busy. It's the middle of midterms. So we really appreciate you all taking the time to be here today. And we're really excited to see you. Does anyone have any last questions before we wrap up? All right. And if you think of anything, feel free to contact us through any of these methods listed on the slide. We'll also be sending out the recording, and we can send out these slides to you all as well once we get everything sorted out after this.